Start with the Shanti Panch. Om Sahna Bhavatu Sahnau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Ganpati Sthiti. Om Gananam Tva Ganpatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannutibhi Siddha Sadhanam. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Now we'll start with the first Mangalacharan Shlok of the text. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattwabodho Bhidiyate. Tattwabodho Bhidiyate. So, Hari Om everyone. We are starting this fifth class on our text Tattwabodha. We have just covered the basics till now, just finished with the introduction and also a broad overview of our spiritual tradition, how all the texts that we have, and Tattwabodha being an important part because it starts with the definition of all the terms that come in most of our texts. So that makes it easy to comprehend our advanced text, and also in itself it is a complete shastram. It is a complete text which gives us the full guidelines towards reaching out for Brahma Jnanam or Atma Jnanam. And so this is a very good aid for those who are starting on the spiritual path, or even those who have done a lot of reading and know a lot, but still maybe they are not able to relate some of the terms they have heard. So it helps in both ways. So in this text we have seen so far that initially we saw who is the adhikari for the text. We saw the person who is fit to engage into the study of this text, and such a person, the adhikari, has to have a fourfold qualification. So basically, if we not go into the full detail of that, in short, it is a preparation of the mind, preparing the mind. So through Vivek, we prepare the mind to know between what is real and unreal, so that we depend on the real and don't get too much disturbed by the unreal. And then by Vairagyam, we learn to give up our addictions and focus our mind properly on what is necessary. Then by Mumukshutvam, we have developed the fierce desire for liberation, or the nature to know about, or to know about our own true nature, know about my Atma, myself. So that is there. And then the sixfold discipline, Shamadhi Shat Sampatti, by which we make the mind free from all stress, Mano Nigraha, control all the sense organs with the mind, in Indriya Nigraha, Damaha, and then also build up our tolerance level through Titiksha, learn to stay aloof from all the disturbances of the world, Uprati, then Shraddha, have faith in the text that we are studying, faith in the Guru that is teaching, and then finally Samadhanam, one-pointed concentration. When our mind is focused, we absorb knowledge better. And then we went into the details of I'll just bring up the text and then we'll explain from there. We looked at the Mangalacharan, and then after this initial introduction, the main motive of the text, the main teaching of the text given in one sentence, Atma Satya tadanyat sarva mithyati. So there we discussed how this Atma is the sole reality and everything else is mithya. This we learned by the example of an object in front of us, like we took a table. So if we saw that the table is not an entity in itself, it is the wood that is the entity, and the different forms and name that it takes up, all those are mithya. Mithya means unreal. So the form is unreal, the name is unreal, the substance is real, right? And then we went on from there that the table is a solid substance, so it is a part of Prithvi Tattva. So all the five elements, Prithvi, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Akash, they are the real source of all the materials in the object, all materials in the universe. So all the names and forms that we see in the universe, they are merely a superimposition. They are not real. They don't have their own essence. They depend for their essence on the real material. So the real material, we finally go back to the Atma only, because everything is projected onto the Atma. It is the consciousness that generates all this. And then we saw the first part of this Atma is divided into, there are two divisions we have given, Atma Sat, Tadanyat Sarva Mithya iti. So from that, we derived a definition for Atma, where what is Atma, that is given at the end, and what is not Atma, that is given in the beginning. So Atma and Anatma, these two definitions are given. Anatma is what we think is Atma, but not so. So all those are given in these 11 components: Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, Sharir, these three. Then Panchakosh, the 5, and then 3 avasthas, the 3 states. So the 3 bodies, the 5 sheaths or the 5 layers of our personality, and then the 3 states of our existence: Jagrit, Swapna, and Sushupti. The waking state, the deep sleep state, and the dream state. So all these are not Atma, which we think of usually as Atma or myself, but they are not so. And what is the actual nature of Atma? Sat Chit Anand Swarup Yas Tishtati Sa Atma. So it is of the nature of existence. All existence comes from Atma itself. It is the nature of Chit or consciousness. All consciousness, all knowledge comes from Atma. Without Atma, there is no knowledge. And then Ananda. It is infinite in nature. This Atma is infinite in nature. This we shall see in more detail when we explore the nature of Sat, Chit and Anand in more details. I gave you a short hint in short detail in the beginning. So after that we have done Sthul Sharir, the gross body. So we understood what is gross. Gross is something that is visible to the sense organs and is easily known to us. But then subtle or sukshma is something that is not seen by the sense organs. So within the sukshma part, we will come to today. But yes, in the last class, we did this part of the gross body. So what is the gross body? It is made up of the 5 great elements: Panchikrit, Panchamahabhut. So here the keyword was Panchikrit and the Panchamahabhut. So Panchamahabhut are the 5 elements. So Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash. So if we consider it scientifically also, we can relate to it. These are the 5 states of matter. These are the 5 states of matter. So the first state is the solid state. Then it can convert to the liquid state. Then it can further convert to the gaseous state. And then it can convert to energy. So energy also we consider a form of matter, because matter and energy are interconvertible. And then finally space, Akash, or so in our system, space is a positive entity. It is not absence or nothingness, which even modern science verifies, because we can see that this space also bends at the edges of the universe. It vibrates. Yeah. So if something has those characteristics, then definitely it is a positive entity. So by relativity and other modern theories of gravitation, we have seen that space also is an entity. So, so effectively, our system says that energy can convert into space again, which we see in the expansion of the universes. The universes are expanding because this energy is again being converted into space. So this is scientific part, not very important for the text, but just to give you a modern perspective, modern understanding. So these are the five elements. Of course, in our system, there are so many other detailed ways of describing it. So we say that nothing exists, nothing becomes visible without vibration. It is Om, or the primal sound from which everything starts to appear or becomes visible. So anything, all the five elements in their pure state, they are called apanchikrit panchamahabhut in their pure state. So they are not visible. They have no vibration. Once vibration is imparted to them, then they combine and recombine to become visible. They become gross. So that gross element is the Panchikrit Panchamahabhut. So the body being gross is made up of the gross elements because body is visible. The body and all the world around us, everything is composed of the five great elements, Panchamahabhut. And then it is Sat Karma Janyam. What is the Panchikrit Panchamahabhut? They are the material cause, the material of which it is built. Then Satkarm Janyam is the Nimitta Karan, the efficient cause. Just like a potter makes a pot, so the mud is the material cause, the potter is the efficient cause. So the Satkarmas are the ones that help us, give us the body for our next birth. So we have a whole lot of karmas that we accumulate through our different births, infinite billions and uncountable number of births from the beginning, because ignorance has no beginning. You can never say what time ignorance started. So because of this reason, we understand that there is a very Panchikaran means the transmutation of the five. Yes, we will cover the Panchikaran details. It is something that we will look into later on, how the five elements combine and recombine. Before Panchikaran happens, they are in pure state, then all of them combine with each other. So in the Panchikrit element, there will be one part of the element which is in the major state. The other four will be in minor states. That we'll see later on. So Panchikrit Panch Mahabhut, we will look later, but we can for now understand they are the gross state of matter, right? They are in the combined state. So in this Panchikrit Panch Mahabhut Kritam Sat Karma Janyam, every action has a effect, right? So there is a simple law we use here with the laws that there are many laws that we use in Vedanta. So one of them is every effect comes from a certain cause. There can never be any effect without any cause. So कोई भी अगर हम इफेक्ट देख रहे हैं, कुछ भी हम कारण देख रहे, कोई भी हम कार्य देख रहे हैं, any effect we see in the universe, it has to have a cause. There can never be anything without a cause. So that is a rule. And so therefore we say for every action that we do, it will have a fruit for it. So the fruit is this is given in this word Satkarma Janyam, because for all the actions that we accumulate in our different births, they will give us certain fruit. That fruit, it comes in the form of a body. A body is given to us, and Sat Karma Janyam, because the human body comes after a lot of good karmas. It is not easy to get the body. When we have not done enough good karmas, then we go into the lower yonis, the lower bodies. They are given to us, right? So Sat Karma Janyam. So because of our good karmas, we are given a particular body. So we have a whole sum of karmas accumulated. We call that Sanchit Karma. That also we'll look into later on. Out of that, a small part is ripe or mature for giving fruit in this birth. So that all those karmas constitute what situations or what lifetime we will have for this birth. And then sukh dukh adi bhog ayatanam. So this body is the house, the whole house from which we can experience the joys and sorrows of the world. It is the bhog ayatanam. Ayatanam is the house or the home or the abode. So that abode is where from which we experience the sukha and dukkha. And then it has 6 modifications. The body, asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati iti. So shad vikarvat. So it has 6 modifications. Asti, it is conceived. Jayate, it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it starts to change or modify. Apakshiyate, it starts to go down or it starts to decay. Then vinashyati, it ends. These are the shad vikaras, the 6 modifications. So the gross body undergoes all of these, right? So in all of these modifications, we are using this for the gross body, and then at the end of its timeline, it goes into complete dissolution, where the gross body goes back into the 5 elements. So that is the procedure, that is the point of vinashyati, or total death of the body. So what is this death? This death is when the Sukshma Shariram separates from the Sthul Shariram. We do not say in Vedanta that Atma is living, Atma is infinite, Atma cannot leave the body. It is the Sukshma Shariram which leaves the body. So what is this Sukshma Shariram? We shall see today. What is this Sukshma Shariram? Sukshma Shariram kim apanchikrit panch mahabhutaihi kritam satkarma janyam sukhadi bhog sadhanam panch jnanendriyani panch karmendriyani panch pranadayah manascha ekam buddhischa eka evam saptadashkalabhihi sah yastishtati tat sukshma shariram. So this is the subtle body that through which all the inputs of the universe are received, and then outputs are again given back to the universe. So what is the material cause again of this Sukshma Sharira? This is the apanchikrit panch mahabhut. So here the 5 elements in the uncombined state, because in the uncombined state they are in a way all pervading with relation to the universe. Every element at that state is not visible when it is apanchikrit, and therefore it covers the whole of a manifest universe. So all the 5 elements there are not in the visible state, and that is why, because they are not in the visible state, they produce this Sukshma Shariram, which is also also is not visible, but it is there. So we shall look into this more. So this apanchikrit panch mahabhuta, we say being the cause. So as is the cause, so is the effect, right? So if the cause is apanchikrit, then the apanchikrit being sukshma or not visible, the sukshma sharir is also not visible. So these 5 elements again, they contribute to the production of the gross body, right? So here we can take a subtle difference. When the Sukshma Shariram is built up, it is built up of the gross elements. So that constitutes all the Jivatmas or all the beings of the universe that we can see around us, right? But there are a lot of other Jivas who are in the subtle state, and they constitute of all the stages of Jivas, right from the Pitras, the forefathers, and so on up to the Gandharvas, Apsaras, the Yakshas, Kinnars, and all those who extend into the subtle state. They are also made up of this apanchikrit panch mahabhut. So when our consciousness associates with this body, it becomes connected to this body, and it thinks of itself as this body only. When similarly this consciousness associates to a larger entity, then that becomes what we call a devta. So devta. So all of these five elements will have a devta associated with them. We shall see more of this concept later on. So basically we have seen is that apanchikrit panch mahabhut will make up this sukshma shariram, and it has 17 total components. So in the end, towards the end, sapt dasha kalabhihi. Kala is components or parts. So Saptadash, 7 and 10, 17 components. So what are these 17 components? Of course, this is also again Satkarma Janyam, because the whole, the body, the three bodies, Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir and Karan Sharir also, they are all born out of our previous karmas, all of our previous actions. So whatever we have done in our previous janma, they are the cause of these bodies. And then this is again Sukh Dukh Adi Bhog Sadhanam. So this Sukshma Shariram is the Bhog Sadhanam, or the instrument. Sadhanam is an instrument with which we use to interact with something. So whenever we have to say contact someone, then we have someone is in front of us, then our voice is the medium of communication or connection with that person. When that person is not nearby, so modern science has brought us so many other instruments. We can use a phone, we can use email, we can use other methods of connecting to them. So all these are our instruments, right? So the ones that we use outside are the outer instruments, but inside we have these we have these instruments with which we can connect. So first of all, it is the Sukh Dukh Adi Bhog Sadhanam. So whatever joys and experiences, joys and sorrows we experience in the world, they are experienced through the sense organs, or all the parts of the Sukshma Shariram. So what are the 17? Panch Jnanendriyani, Panch Karmendriyani, Panch Pranadayah, Manascha Buddhischa evam Sapt Dasha Kalabhisa. So the five Jnanendriya are our organs of knowledge. They are the five organs of ours through which knowledge is gained. Right. So we look into this in the next part. We cover the details. And then we have the Panch Karmendriyani, the five organs of action. So they are Vak, Pani, Payu, Upastaha. So Vak, the power of speech through which we give our output to the world. The Pancha Jnanendriyani, they give our input. So through the eyes, through the ears, we get signals or not information or knowledge about the objects outside, objects around us. So all these objects are to be known through the five Jnanendriyani. They are, Jnana means knowledge. So the knowledge of the outer objects is received through these five Jnanendriyani. And then the Panch Karmendriyani represents the five organs of action. So Vak, the Vani, through which we talk to others. Then Vak, Pani are hands through which we grasp things. Then Pad, our feet through which we move from one place to another. Then Payu, the excretory system through which anything in the body is excreted. And then Upastha are genitals, the organs of procreation. And then we have the five pranas. So the five pranas, Pran, Apan, Vyan, Udan, Saman. The five pranas, they are the five physiological aspects of the body, how the functions of the body are maintained, how the body keeps on functioning. It represents basically what we call the life force within us. The life force is the prana. The life force moving within us, it is pure energy. That energy has to come from somewhere, so that those pranas are the ones that do all the internal actions of the body, how all our systems are maintained. And then Manaha, Manascha Ekam, Manaha is the mind. So mind is one part. So, and the other is Buddhi. So in other texts or in other places, these two are part of what we call the antakaran. Antakaran. So antakaran is the inner instrument. Antakaran is the inner instrument. So inner instrument is through which we receive all the inputs from the sense organs and act upon them or give our give our output to them. So out of them, one is manaha. Manaha represents the mind. Buddhi represents the intellect. So these will see more. So I'm not going into detail over here. So manaha and buddhi, they are our instruments. So all of these represent together 17. But if we divide otherwise antakaran, then it is man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. So chit represents the Chitta represents the portion where all our impressions are stored. So in a way, it is included within manaha. So that is why only manaha is given. And buddhi represents how we make a decision about what to do. So that decision has to have a doer, that I am the doer. I am the doer. So that doer is represented by ahankar. So whenever I do something, say I have eaten my food, then I say I have eaten the food. So who has eaten the food? The food has just gone into the body. I am not the body. But because I associate myself with the body, then that sense that I have eaten the food translates into the ego sense. So ego sense is ahankar. Ahankar represents me thinking of myself as a doer of any kind of action or any kind of any kind of movement. So buddhi, manaha, chit, ahankar represent 4 parts. So that way there will be 19 components. So saptadasha kalavi saha yastishtati tas sukshma shariram. With these 17 components, whatever exists, that is the sukshma shariram. So we shall now look into these parts. So what are the jnana indriyas? So shrotram, tvak, chakshu, rasna, granam, iti, panchi jnanendriyani. These are the 5 organs of knowledge. So the shrotram represents the hearing power. So here we have to be very clear that this is the hearing power. It is not the physical ear. The physical ear, I repeated earlier also, it is what we call a golak. It is the vessel through which the sense organ functions. It is the vessel through which the sense organ functions. But within the physical ear is our hearing power. That hearing power we cannot see. It is something. Why we cannot see? Because it is subtle. We cannot see if it is subtle. So we saw one concept earlier on. I asked you to write down the rules of Vedanta. So one of them was Swatmani Kriya Abhavat. Swatmani Kriya Abhavat. Any object cannot act upon itself. Right? So the eye cannot see the eye. The ear cannot see the ear. So whatever I'm seeing is just the physical organ, not the eye. And also, like if I say if I shine a light from a torch, then the torch light cannot illuminate the electricity within it, the source of that light. So in this way, any object cannot act upon itself. That is the rule, Swatmani Kriya Bhavat. So these sense organs are subtle. They are we say sukshma. Because they are so subtle, so they cannot be perceived, because they are the ones that we are doing the act of perception. They are perceiving. They themselves cannot be perceived. How they can be perceived, that we will reserve for later. So we shall come to that. So right now, first we have to understand these are the organs which perceive the objects around us. So we say that they give us knowledge about the objects around the world. So that is why we say they are a kind of a light. Just like we use a light to see something. Whenever there is light, then only we can see something. Right? So in this way, these are these 5 let us know about the objects around us. So Shrotram, first we saw the hearing power. Tvaka is the twacha or the skin, which gives us the sense of touch. The skin gives us the sense of touch. It lets us know about the different kinds of touch that is available to us. And then we have the chakshuhu. Chakshuhu is the eye or the seeing power. Seeing power, we can recognize all the forms around us, all the colors around us. All the forms and all the colors around us. And then the rasna. Rasna is the tongue, which gives us the sense of taste. So that represents the power of tasting, the rasna indriya. And then granam iti. Grana is the Granam is the fifth sense organ, representing the nose or the smelling power. The smelling power is the fifth. So these are the Panch Gyanendriyan. Okay. So just share another one. So you can look here, all of them are given together, the 17. So Gyanendriyas we are looking at, they are the faculties or the power of hearing, touching, seeing, tasting and smelling. Then Karmendriya is the faculties of speaking, grasping, moving, reproducing and excreting. Then pranas, they are different, they have different functions, which we'll also look into later on. And then the antakaran represents the mind, the memory and the intellect and the ego sense. Man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. So these are the components.
Sir?
So
what is that indecisive and decisive?
Indecisive, just a second. You want me to bring up this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this I'll discuss later on. If you want, I'll just tell you in short. Indecisive means whenever there is a thought that arises in the mind, whenever there is a thought that arises in the mind, it consists of two components. And that is the name which we use to define the mind itself also. Manaha Sankalpa Vikalpatmaka Mana. That is the definition of the mind. Sankalp Vikalpatmaka Manaha. So, first of all, I decide to do something or I think of doing something. So, I want to go out to the market and buy a dress for myself. That is the Sankalpa. And then Vikalpa. When I go there, I see so many clothes, so many dresses. So, that is that is the indecisive part. I have so many things to choose from. So, that is the mind coining the options that are available for me to experience or to gain. Right? And then again, the intellect is defined as Nishchayatmika Buddhi. It makes the final decision. So it is decisive. So that is why it is, whenever the options are given by the mind, it is the intellect which decides, yes, this is the particular color I want. This is the kind of dress I want. This is how I want to get it stitched and so on. So it makes the final decision. So that is the function of the intellect or the buddhi. Buddhi makes the final decision. So that is why these are given in these two, given by these two definitions, right? So we'll come back to this, come back to our text, right? So these five Gyanendriyas, they are able to give us different kinds of knowledge, right? So now we come into the concept of Devta. So before we go there, I just have a small overview of what this represents. So we have in our systems something that we call Vyashti and Samashti. Vyashti represents the individual. Vyashti represents the individual being. You, me, and all the animals, plants, and even every non-living thing. And then Samashti represents the total entity, total universe. So that represents the total. So we say that by the logic of Vyashti and Samashti, by the individual and total, whatever is the nature of the individual, that is reflected in the total. So Yatha Vyashti Tatha Samashti, or reverse, Yatha Samashti Tatha Vyashti. So if there is a forest of trees, then whatever be the characteristics of the tree will be there in the forest itself. Right? So in this way, there is something that applies to the total and there is something that applies to the individual. So when I have a knowledge about myself, it is being attained by this particular ear. But that at the total level, that knowledge is held by a particular entity. So me, the limited jiva, the limited individual, is able to perceive a limited amount of knowledge. Say, let us look at the shrotra. So we have a hearing power which can listen between only certain frequencies. But there are other frequencies beyond. So like dogs can listen to the higher frequencies. There are other animals that can go to the lower frequencies. So all of these frequencies are not available to the humans, right? But the Devta is the one who is consists of the total hearing power, the total hearing power, right? So the total hearing power is able to perceive everything that can be heard. And it is present in all the beings that are doing the act of perception. So the Devta has a larger power. So basically, when we look at our consciousness, we saw the consciousness or the Chetana or the power through which we know something. Whenever we are conscious, then only we know something, right? Without the consciousness, even the Indriyas, the sense organs won't function. When I go to sleep, whenever I am in deep sleep, none of my organs are functioning. So my shrotra, twacha, none of them give input. Unless someone gives me a really rough input. If someone shouts into my ear or someone pinches me, right? Then I wake up. So again, I have to wake up to experience anything, right? So whenever I'm experiencing something, that experience is very limited, and that represents the power of my personal indriya. But the total power is represented by the Devta. The consciousness that is associated with the total hearing power, that is the Devta for that. So here it is given Shrotrasya Dig Devata, the direction, the Devta of the directions. So Shrotra is the ear, the hearing power. So similarly, I will give you the logic for this once we have gone through this full portion. So the Devta for Shrotra is the Dig Devta or the Devta of direction. Dig means direction. Then Twacha, for Twacha the Devta is Vayu Devta. So Vayu Devta represents the total touch power, total power of touch, right? And then Chakshusaha Surya. Surya represents the total seeing power, that is the Devta. And then Rasnayaha Varunaha. So Varun Devta represents the tasting power, the Devta for the tasting power. And then Granasya Ashvino. So we have two nostrils. Ashvin Devta, there are two Ashvin Devtas. So both of them represent the smelling power. So these are the Gyanindriya Devta. And I'll just go to the next part and then I will correlate all of these three. So Shrotrasya, I'll just read this. Shrotrasya Vishaya Shabd Grahanam, Tvacho Vishaya Sparsh Grahanam, Chakshusho Vishaya Rupa Grahanam, Rasnaya Vishaya Ras Grahanam, Granasya Vishaya Gandh Grahanam. So the ear has a certain range of objects that can be perceived. That range is nominated by Shabdaha. The ear can only listen to words. It cannot smell. It cannot. So it cannot say, that ear cannot say, today I am on leave. So the nose, you please do the job of doing listening. You can listen in for me. It cannot happen. Every sense organ is associated with one kind of sense object, we call it. We call it Vishaya. The Vishaya is the sense object which it can grasp. So each of them is associated with one of them. So this Shrotrasya, the ear has to grasp the sounds, Shabda Grahanam. Tvacha Vishaya, Sparsh Grahanam. So the skin, it grasps the objects of touch. It is able to perceive the touch of every object. Chakshusha Vishaya Rupa Grahanam. So the eye perceives the form or the colors of the different objects around it. Rasnaya Vishaya Rasgranam, the tongue perceives the different kinds of taste. And then the bolte, the speaking power of the tongue is again a different indriya. Through the tongue, there are two indriyas functioning. One is this jnana indriya, the taste part, and other is the vani, which is the karmendriya. We shall come to the karmendriya after this. Okay, so granasya vishaya gandha grahanam. So the ear, sorry, the nose has a function of knowing the different scents around. So I'll just write this down for you so that you can understand. Share a whiteboard. Okay, so we have to remember there is a concept we call, I don't know if I'll be able to write this down. Okay, I don't think we can do this on the whiteboard because it's not enough space. So there are these three that we have described. The Devta, yeah, I'm just removing this. Okay, so every sense organ has three aspects, or everything in the universe has three aspects. We give them the name of Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik. Right? So the Adi Bhautik represents the Bhuta, the gross part of any perception. So in any perception, there has to be three things. First is the perceiver, the one that is doing the act of perception. Second is the object being perceived. And the third is the connection between these two, which is done by the Devta. So Adi Devta, Adi Dev represents the Devta of any trio. Adi Bhut represents the Vishaya or the object of any trio. And Adhyatmik represents the perceiver of any trio. So in this first trio, we can take which one? So the Adhyatma will be the Shrotra Indriya, the hearing power. Adhyatma is the Shrotra Indriya. And the Devta for that is the Dig Devta. Dig Devta is the Adi Dev part. And then the Adi Bhautik is the Vishaya for that, which we call the Shabda. Shabda is the Adi Bhautik. It is the Bhut. It is the Bhut represents something that has appeared, something that we can see, something that can perceive. So it will always be gross. So Bhut represents this. So this Shabda is the Bhautik, Adi Bhautik part of this trio. So this act of perception happens. We shall see later that from the first of the elements, which is the space, is born. All of three are born. This Dig Devta, the Shrotra, and the Vishaya, which is called Shabda. All are born from space element only. So that is why perception can occur only when there is a common thread or common point between all three. The common point between all three is Akash. Akasha is the common point, right? So if we are trying to, mix two things, they will have to have a common thing. Like you cannot mix oil and water. Yeah. So there has to be something common between the two objects so that they can be mixed. So that is why the act of perception requires that all the three parts are coming from the same element. So that we'll see in more detail later on. But right now we just understand that we have these three aspects: Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik. And this trio, the first part is for the Adhyatmik, the Shrotra is the Adhyatma, the Devta is the Adi Dev part, the Dig Devta, and the Vishaya Shabd Grahanam is represented by the object, that is the sound. This sound is grasped by the ear. So why is the Devta here the Dig Devta? Because it is connected to the space around us, and through the ear we can perceive all the directions. without the ear, where if we cannot tell from which side the sound is coming, then the perception will not be proper. That is why the Dig Devta is the Devta of the ear, right? And then Tvacha Devta, of course, is Vayu. So that is direction. Yeah. So because Vayu, through Vayu only, through the air, when it touches our body, then only we can do this act of sparsha, we can feel the touch. And then Chakshusaha Surya. Whenever there is the sun outside, whenever there is light, so the sun is the main light outside, or inside also, all the lights we say have come from the sun, because all energy comes from the sun. So when this sun, whenever you are lighting a lamp or any other light inside, that also has indirectly come from the sun only. So we say Agni is the avatara, or the form of the sun that is represented here on earth. So Agni represents that the part of sun that appears on the earth. So that is the Agni Devta. So Surya, whenever there is light, then only you can see something. So Chakshusha will function only when Surya Devta is there, right? And then Rasnayaha Varun. So Varun Devta is what? He is the Devta of the waters, Jala Devta. So that function of taste comes only when our tongue is salivating. Yes. Yeah. So जब मुंह में पानी आता है तभी taste आता है. So when we are tasting something, we need the tongue to be wet.
Imagine golgappe.
Golgappe, anything, yeah. So all that taste has to come from the Varun Devta. Without Varun Devta, that cannot happen. And then Ashvino, they represent the divine physicians. So Ghrad, the ear, the smelling power that power is gained by the Ashvino, the two twins. That is simply because there are two of these organs. So these three, all this perception that is taking place will have this trio, the hearing power, the Devta which connects both of them, the hearing power and the object perceived, and the object itself which is being perceived, the object also which is being perceived. So here we just try and remember a very small but important point here. First of all, we remember that whenever we perceive an object, the object itself is not entering our mind. It is only the image of the object that is in the mind. So it is perceived as what we call a thought, as a vritti. So हर वस्तु वृत्ति रूप में भासमान होती है. In simple English, every object that we perceive is perceived as a thought in the mind. That thought consists of two components. One of the component is the consciousness part, through which I am able to say, yes, this knowledge, this is something I know, the conscious aspect. Right? So that the technical names for that I'm omitting because people get confused by this. I'm just keeping it simple here. So that vritti jnanam, that thought knowledge. And then the second part is what? Shape. The shape of the object, the size, shape, whatever. All of these information is provided by the sense organs. So when an object is perceived by us, an image of that is formed in our mind. And that is why we are able to many times perceive an object even when the object is not in front of us. Because that image has been stored in our mind, we can recall that object and bring it in our mind. So the object is also not in front of us. Right? So all of these objects, when they are perceived in this form of this trio. The Devta represents the total power. And we have only a part of that power which is given to us. So just like a department is there is the owner of a company. Then he delegates his different powers to his different managers. Then those managers delegate their different powers to the people under them. Similarly, Ishvara is the one who has the total power. Ishvara is the one who holds the consciousness of the whole manifest universe. Drishyaman Jagat. So he is the consciousness that is behind the whole universe. So Ishvara represents the total universal consciousness. And all the powers come from that Ishvara only. And then the departmental heads he has assigned represent all these devtas. So at the first level is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They represent the first three powers of Ishvara. That is, the Brahmaji represents the creative power, Vishnuji represents the maintaining power, and then Shivji represents the destructive power. And then further, all these actions, the knowledge, they all are represented by different devtas. We have so many devtas. So 36 koti devta, 36 types of devtas are there. We can see sometime later on about that. There are basically 36 categories of devtas, not 36 crores. Many people translate koti as crore. So then we come on to, we have seen the 5 organs of knowledge, 5 Jnanendriyani, and then we are looking at the next set of 5, the Pancha Karmendriyani. So they are, what are the 5 Karmendriyas? Vak, Pani, Pad, Payu, Upasthani. Iti Pancha Karmendriyani. So Vak represents the power of speech through which I am able to communicate my feelings, my desires to the people around me, to the universe around me. Then Pani represents my hands through which I am able to grasp something, I am hold on to something, to bring something near to me. That represents Pani, the holding power, not the physical hand again. Remember, the Indriya represents the power behind it. So speech is the power behind it, not the tongue itself. So that is why the tongue can do 2 functions. So then next is the hands, the Pani. Then after that is the Pada. Pada represents the legs, the 2 legs. They represent the power of movement, the power of locomotion, going from one place to another. That is represented by the Pada, the 3rd Karmendriyani. And then Payu represents the anus through which the action of excretion is done. All the food that is ingested, it is then further thrown out after digestion through them. And then the genitals represent the 5th one, the Upastha. They represent the 5th Karmendriyani through which we experience the pleasure of procreation. So here also same way we saw in the previous part, there is a Adhibhautik, Adhidevik, Adhyatmik. So here also for all these 5 Adhyatmik parts, the Vak, Pani, Pad, Payu, Upastha, there are the 5 Adhidevik, 5 powers, the 5 total powers which are able to connect these to their respective sense objects. So Vak represents Vani, their Devta is Vanni. Vanni is what? Agni. Agni. So Agni, because this through Vani, I am able to communicate things around me, and that represents every speech illuminates something. Every speech, that is why Agni is the Devta for that. Every speech will describe something about an object, describe something about the universe around me, describe something about my emotions, my feelings. So it is able to throw a light. So that light is represented by Vanni or Agni Devta. Agni is the Devta for Vak. And again, we remember, when we use a speech and sometimes that speech is very harsh or something, we say something that can energize people. So we say fiery speech. We use the term fiery speech. That represents that Agni Devta when he is in a really good mood. So Vacho Devta Vanni. Hastayoho Indra. Indra represents the holding power, the grasp. So he represents the power that grasps onto things. So Indra is who? He is the king of the Devtas, right? He is the king of the Devtas. So that king also, of course, he is the king of the mind also. We shall come to that. But he is the he is the one through which everything in the world is grasped. Without him, nothing can be grasped. So that is Indra. Then Padayoho Vishnuhu. So Vishnu represents the power of locomotion. So if some of us have heard the story from the Puranas where Vishnu in 3 steps, he measures the universe. So that is represented by this power only, the power of locomotion, the power of movement. Vishnu is the measurer of the universe. He measures. So with the step we measure. That is what is represented. So whenever we do our morning walk, we are doing counting the steps. We are measuring that street. And so that in that way, the Padaha is represented by the Devta for that is Vishnu. So Vishnu is the measurer of the worlds. By 3 steps, he measures all the whole universe. Yes, we have a murti or vigraha of Vishnuji when we walk outside, when we go bow to him daily. So he's always available to us. Then Payoho Mrityuhu. So Payoho Payu represents the excretory system. So that is represented by Mrityu Devta or Yama Devta. Mrityu Devta is the one who clears the universe of unwanted matter. Right? So none of us wants to die. Right? None of us wants to die. But when the body has finished its function, when it is outlived its utility, then it has to go. We will then go on to another body. The subtle body is one which does not die with the body, with the gross body. It moves from one body to the next. That is why as we said, the act of death is represented by the separation of the subtle body and the gross body. So death is defined by gross body and a subtle body being separated. And then the subtle body will then look for another body to live out its next series of births, live out its next birth. So the subtle body moves from one Shariram to the next. That is why the gross body we saw is written as the abode, as the house. So it is only the house where it is living. So we all have lived in maybe one house or 2 or maybe more houses. They all represent our temporary abode. So for this Sukshma Shariram, there have been countless number of abodes, countless number of houses in which it has lived. But when that house has lived out its life, then it will destroy. So then the Sukshma Shariram goes on to the next body. And then, so Payoho Mrityuhu, the act of death represents the expulsion. So from when the body has absorbed all the life force, all the energy from the food that has been ingested, it then lets it go. So that represents the act of death of those substances. Then Upastaha Prajapati Iti, Karmendriya Devta. So these are the 5 Karmendriya Devtas, the final one being Prajapati. Prajapati is whom? Brahmaji. Or in a sense, once he has assigned for taking care of the universe or the people of the universe, the Prajaha. So Praja represents all the people of the universe. That is not just humans, but every being in the universe. The one who presides over them is the Prajapati. Pati is the one who presides or holds power over or holds sway over. Right? So don't take it in the negative sense. Husband and wife, the Pati is the one who controls. It is in a different sense that they together form a couple, of which he is the deciding power, she is the maintaining power. They both have their own duties. So that is why in our spiritual system we say the male and the female are not equal. They are different. They have their own beauty, their own different functions through which they can excel at. Right? So of course they can cross over. As I said earlier also, there are 2 forces that run the universe. One is love and the other is action, prem, karma. These are present in different quantities in the different people. So a lady may have more of action also. So that then her direction will be more towards action. It is not necessary. So they can be present in different proportions. So Upastaha represents Ananda. It represents joy. So joy, why? Because when we produce children, then the children are a source of joy for us. Of course, they are a source of a lot of pain also. Yeah, but the thing is, the joy is described in the way that all of our future desires are represented through our children. We live them out through our children. So, and also they are a continuation of our race. So it is in a way that as if I have never died. It is I continue through my children. So that represents the that continuity represents the infinity of my existence, and that infinity in itself is joy. Because what did we see earlier? Anandaha and Anantam are the same. Anandaha represents joy, and Anantam is infinite. So infinite joy represents when I understand through Atma Jnanam, when I understand through the knowledge of the soul, that everything is within me. If everything is within me, nothing is outside me, then I have no desire to attain something. I will only have a desire to attain something when it is outside of me, right? So in this way, the ananda of the human beings is carried forward into the generations that come out of them. And then I'll just take a few more minutes, even though time is up. So what are the sense objects of these five कर्मेंद्रियास? वाचो विषय भाषणम, पाण्योर विषय वस्तु ग्रहणम, पादयोर विषय गमनम, पायोर विषय मल त्यागः, उपस्थस्य विषय आनंद इति. So this I have in a way told only. The sense object of Vani is bhashanams or speaking. That is the sense object. Panayor Vishaya Vastu Granam, to hold the object of the hands is the holding of objects. Padayor Vishaya Gamanam, the act of going or traveling from one place to another. Payoho Vishaya Malatyaga, the Payu Indriya or the Payu Karmendriya, its Vishaya or its sense object is Malatyaga, the excretion of unnecessary objects. And Upastasya Vishaya Ananda, the function of the genitals or the sense object for the genital is Ananda, which we saw in whichever sense it is used. So next class we will go on to the Karan Shariram. Today we have covered most of the Sukshma Shariram. A little bit of an overview I will give to you of this in the next class, because there are certain things I want to touch on, so that we'll look in the next class. So today we have completed this part on the Karmendriya. Okay, so anyone has any doubt or questions? Anyone wants to ask something? Anything I was unclear about or something I skipped over? We have two new kids today, Khyati and Miss A. Maybe can we see you guys? Okay, it's very clear to Khyati.
Hey, it's me, Anita from UK.
Okay, Anita, yes,
Hi,
okay.
sir.
Okay.
I can't keep on making you know. I'm sorry.
Okay, you missed the last class, I think, but you were there in the previous class, right?
No, sir, I was there in every class.
Okay, great. Chalo. Thank you so much, kids. Thank you everyone for coming. So grateful to all of you for joining the class. I hope everything is clear then. And any questions that come to you later on, you can always ask me. You can message me. I'm available for you always. And I hope that we'll keep coming and we'll finish this class. Thank you so much for coming, and everyone have a blessed day and blessed week ahead. God bless you all. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.